Well, in what is being seen as fresh provocation from China, China on Monday officially released the 2023 edition of its standard map incorporating the disputed areas, including its claims over Arunachal Pradesh, Aksai Chin region, Taiwan and the disputed South China Sea. India has repeatedly said that the state of Arunachal Pradesh has and always will be an integral part of the country. Let's go across to Gursimran, who's reporting on this. He's also joined by two MPs from Tibet in exile. Gursimran, good morning. Gursimran, we are not really surprised by what China has done. We've seen this often enough. In fact, each year they do release this territorial map. But the question that everybody will ask is why right ahead of the G20 summit?
See, Nupur, this is a major provocation by the Chinese side right ahead of the G20, the way they have released the map that have shown the Arunachal Pradesh as well as Aksai Chin as part of the China and also the controversial South China Sea. Right now, I am joined by three parliamentarians of the Tibetan government in exile. I am joined by Dawa Shering, Tempa Yarfel and Yeshi Dolma. These are three MPs from the Tibetan government in exile. Will try to speak because they are the sufferers. They are those people who have seen the Chinese provocation, who have lost their land to the China, and they are still fighting for their rights. I am joined by Dawa Shering. Sir, how do you see another provocation by the Chinese side? Now they are showing the Arunachal Pradesh as part of China, and so does the Aksai Chin and the South China Sea.
Yeah, we know that very well. Since the inception of the Communist China in 1949, since that the expansionist the policy is there. So that's why the Tibet was occupied in 1959 forcefully by the China. And also in 1954, after the occupation of Tibet, the Indian government and China had made a partial agreement. Even then, the China has made a war in 1969 because of their expansionist policy. So as well as till now, they have more than 13 or 14 South Asian countries has made aggressions or expansionists there, and there's already a problem. So we've been for last 62 or 63 years, the Tibetans have been crying for the same. Don't turn to the China. They are expansionist policy, have a policy. They can anytime, anywhere they will expand, like claiming for and therefore moreover, there's no any single inch a boundary between China and India before 1959. It was become a border between China and India after the occupation of Tibet. So it is the China has no right to claim that Arunachal and all these things are kasore. They're kasore.
I feel that it is a high time for the international community to come against China's expansionist policy and speak up, because we have seen that many of the world powers have kept themselves silent when it comes to the Chinese provocation.
Yeah, it's very high time to get all the international countries with such a communist, undemocratic, and expansionist in mind policy like Xi Jinping. After Xi Jinping became a premier of the president of the China, he has a more expansionist mind and policy he met till now. So it is high time to come together, all the countries to against China, particularly for the trade, because we should boycott the Chinese good. And also, if we are led, then sufferer will be all the South Asian countries.
So the entire South Asia will be suffering. We'll try to speak to some more of the MPs. We are joined by one more MP of the Tibetan government in exile. We'll try to also ask her, Yeshi Dolma. Ma'am, how do you speak, how do you see this expansionist policy of the China? You have been the sufferer of the China's provocation.
Since Tibet has been acting as a buffer state between the two biggest populated countries in the world, and there is nothing issues between the border over there at the Tibet and India. It's a border between the Tibet and India. But then after 1959, Chinese have invaded Tibet illegally. And then it started all over, there's a border issue, encroaching of the land. Whenever there's chance, they started encroaching all into the India. and there's too much problems created because of that. But actually, it's not China-India border, it's Tibet-India border.
Madam, I'll request you also to translate for Tenpa Yerfel, as he is not able to speak in English. Tenpa, how do you see this provocation? Sir, can you please translate this for us? How he sees this?
ngay kadu ina hiye de yo po dang jaga ning paro go sansam ma do janna dang jaga ning paro lo sansam na ya yo ma re sanga so kadu ina de hiye de yo re da ne zu dang ne dang ta rang ma do go janna le ti ko la hiye ya top tang koron yo ma re sang do.
No, there's no any border between the Indian China before 1959. That whatever the provocation making by the China is totally illegal.
So these are the three MPs of the Tibetan government in exile, Dawa Suering, Tenfa Yarfel and Yeshi Dolma, and they have spoken against the China, clearly sending a clear-cut message to the world community that it is a high time for them to speak, because the Chinese expansionist policy is not coming to an end, which started in 1959 with the China's provocation, aggression on the Tibetan land. Now it is continuing, and now the China is claiming that the Arunachal Pradesh, the Aksai Chin, and also the controversial South Asian Sea are their paths. But a very clear-cut message from the parliamentarians of the Tibetan government in exile that they stand against the Chinese provocation. Yes.
Now, obviously, Gursimran, given that this provocation comes right ahead of the G20 summit, even as India prepares to host world leaders, do you think New Delhi will be responding to this? And if they do so, how will that response be?
See, the India stand has been very clear that not even an inch of the land will be given to any country, no matter how powerful the country claims to be, because India post Galwan has shown the Chinese side that how India is capable of turning the tables. The operations that were carried out post the Operation Snow Leopard that have clearly shown the Chinese side that if they will ever dare to cross over to the Indian side or to change the status quo on the line of actual control, they will be given a tough time, and that is what the Indian forces have done. So now the provocation from the Chinese side, they will be dealt also in the same way. The China has tried to do a provocation ahead of the G20, and they will be given a reply that is very clear that the Indian side will be putting the China on the paper that it is not the way the China should actually act.
All right, Gursimran, thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast. Gursimran over there bringing us the latest on this. Of course, we are still awaiting a response from New Delhi, an official response rather from New Delhi on this.